Hey, and thank you for clicking play. By the way, when I did the alien breed video, you'll have noticed I was happily tucking into my Apocalypse vodka because I thought, what the heck, here in WA we're doing pretty good. That did not end well, and that's all I'm saying. So today I'm drinking some Cinzano with a dash of lemon. That needs to be treated with much respect, and I didn't give it that much respect, I must say. So silly me. So what are we doing today? It's not talking about me and my drinking problems. It's the Aptiva. And as I've said from the beginning, I really just want to try so hard to just concentrate on the systems that I had and the games that I liked and I've got an emotional attachment to, which this is not. But as I've mentioned before, this was a bit too much of a bargain. I had to pick it up and I got it from Matt M, who I have to thank for selling it to me for $50. And we'll get to see how good that was as we unpack it today. And I'm really looking forward to making this video with you guys. And I know Matt's keen to see what I've made out of it as well. And another guy, just while I remember, that I need to thank is a guy called Aaron on one of the Vintage Computer Collectors group or something like that, Facebook group, because I was asking where I could get drivers for this because I was having trouble finding a recovery disc, and he made it that evening. He made it his own personal crusade to go and find all the drivers that I needed and gave me the links. So yeah, thanks Aaron, because that really helped because I was struggling, and he really knew his stuff. So let's see where I've got this to. Before we do that, we need to put it in context. Where does a machine like this fit? Even though it doesn't quite fit, it does fit. I'll make it fit. It definitely fits. I'm going to show you some photos. So let's have a look and see if there's a photo. These photos aren't the highest resolution, as you can imagine. So this is the house, the last house we lived in the UK before we moved to Australia. And annoyingly, I don't have a good picture of this machine. You can just about see it there. Right? Just trust me, it's there. Let's have a pan around this photo. Oh, okay. Let's have a look here first of all. Look, see this little desk toy here? Same thing. So yeah. Right. So this computer, you can see there, lovely. I think that was a 17-inch monitor, which seemed great at the time. Remember this? This was a Quick Shot Super Warrior, I believe. So that was, there's a story to tell maybe for another time about those joysticks. So let's talk about this machine that you can barely see here. What was in that machine was originally a Pentium 100. And it stayed that way for a while. So a P100, bog standard P100. I got sent to an expo in London to have a look at some of the new stuff Microsoft was bringing out, specifically Windows 98. So this was a Windows 95 machine. So this is a machine I played the Weezer video on, those kind of memories. And I added a voice data fax modem to it. This was the first machine I got online with on the internet. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, and discovered chat rooms. So anyway, and other things. So yeah, and the phone bills. So anyway, at this expo, I took some pocket money with me as well for my own personal thing, and I bought a Pentium 200 MMX chip. Because one of the things I really wanted to get running on this was Carmageddon. It didn't really quite run fast enough. So I bought this Pentium 200 MMX. Fortunately, I bothered to read both the CPU manual and the motherboard manual for this machine. And this motherboard was producing too high a voltage, socket voltage, for the P200 MMX. It was intended for the earlier Pentiums, not the later ones. So then I had to, through Novatech, which was my go-to at the time. They still exist, by the way. I'll put the link in the description. No affiliation, but they still exist, and kudos for still existing. And so I bought a whole new motherboard. So I rebuilt this machine. I swapped out the motherboard. I put the Pentium 200 MMX chip in. Got it all working. And then I was still surprised that actually it really didn't run that well, and even the demos that came on a disc with the MMX chip didn't really run very well. There were some great lighting effects, but they chugged along. It was slideshow. So it was, yeah, was not an impressive, it was a disappointing upgrade. I started playing about with graphics cards I could do. This is when the Voodoo 2s were coming out and stuff like that. I tried, I think it was an S3 Verge, sent that straight back to Novatech and said, nah, sorry, it's crap. They had a wonderful no questions asked returns policy. And then what I ended up buying was a 3DFX Banshee card, and that was night and day. So I just wanted to give you that bit of background to why I had a P200MMX and why I was thinking about putting a P200MMX in the Aptiva, which, to be honest, I don't see any point in. Then we converted our garage. That's when I then moved on to this machine. So this machine, and if you've watched other videos, you'll know this machine actually still exists in my family. This is at my parents' house in the UK, so it's trapped there in the current event. But I will reclaim this machine, and I'm quite excited because this is the only machine from my past that actually still exists, which is great. And so what's in that? The funny thing is, I don't know what's in it. I know it was a slot 1 build, generic Sound Blaster Pro clone. The motherboard I got from a friend at work. That's what I do remember. And he was upgrading to a Pentium 3, or maybe he was swapping to AMD. I can't remember. But he sold me this motherboard and he sold me a processor with it. Now, where I'm fuzzy is, I can't remember if that's a Pentium 2 or it may be a Celeron. Now, don't hate me, because if it's a Celeron, and I've got some memories here that are thinking, but my thinking was that at the time there was a Pentium 3 era Celeron that was better than a Pentium 2 but not as good as a Pentium 3. And maybe because of budget constraints, that's what's in that machine. I would love to think my Banshee's in that machine, but I don't think it is. Because I think at that point it was better to use something like a TNT2. So this one was called Judgment and this one was called Wrath. And I know they were both good enough for gaming. So that's why I'm leaning towards thinking this is a TNT2. So why is any of that relevant? Well, this is the machine that I went to Windows 98 on, and it was a hooky copy of Windows 98, hooky copy of Office, hooky copy of 3D Studio Max. That's something we'll have to get into on a similar machine. So this Aptiva that I now have, to put that back into context, is the Windows 98 era and the games that I love from that period. Unreal at this point, the game I was trying to get running smoothly was Unreal. And that's where things like the Banshee card on this machine made such a difference. The TNT2, which I think is what it was, made a huge difference as well to running that kind of game. Unreal Tournament, same kind of thing. The Aptiva is an AMD K6-2-450. So that's heaps better than my Pentium 2 MMX, Pentium 200 MMX, sorry. And I believe it's probably even a rival for that. And when I get my hands on this again, it would be nice to do an actual real life comparison. So now that we've discussed the machines that I had, I believe this fits in the era of Windows 98 PC gaming. That's how I'm gonna fit this in. And interestingly, I was thinking about buying a P200 MMX because of what I've just showed you. What would be the point in downgrading this poor, awesome IBM Aptiva to P200 MMX? So I'm just going to leave this as this fits the Windows 98 era. I'm going to show you what happened the day that I got it and I actually went to turn it on. Did it turn on when I first got it off map, and what did it boot into? Let's go. So many noises. So many noises. Okay, so this has ejected itself. So that's interesting. I don't know what's going on there. We've got a CMOS checksum error and a CMOS battery fail. So obviously that lithium, the lithium battery has decided it's dead and isn't storing anything. So we can either go into setup or we can just continue. So I'm going to try continuing. Let's zoom in here and see what's going on. We have a CD-ROM device driver. The device name is apparently Banana. Drive R is drive Banana. So it stopped ejecting itself, that's one thing. And let's just see what we got. Yep, so it's just DOS is on there. So it's got DOS on there. Is it there? Yep, there we go. How is all this stuff still in my head? How is it in my head? I don't know. When's the last time I would have typed ver? A million years ago. I don't know. But anyway, there we go. So there you go, fired up, but was in DOS 6.2. I then decided to put Windows 98 on it because that's what it should have on it. So got myself a image of that and off we went. Which, do you know what? That fits with how I built those machines back in the day, because I think at that period, apart from the machine that came with Windows 95, I don't think I had a legitimate operating system until XP, until I bought a laptop that came with XP, which was a Pentium 4. So let's have a look around this Aptiva and actually see what we're dealing with in terms of what's it got on the outside, what's it got on the inside, and go from there. So look, that's the machine, that's the frontage. And as you can see there, fairly standard. You've got a power button, you've got a pseudo eject button which pushes through to an actual eject mechanism. Same with this, as we'll see in a minute. And this opens up to a trapdoor. We'll talk about my choice of drive momentarily, but that's the front of the unit. And as you can see there is some room for expansion. I could put another 5.25 inch drive in there, and I could put another 3.5 inch drive there. Okay, so at the back, fairly standard. Obviously we've got the power switch there, power socket. There's no through on this one. First of all, VGA, I mean, that's fairly standard. Monitor port. We've got a parallel printer port. We have a COM port, a 9-pin D COM port. We have two ports. These are still being put on modern machines, I note. 2 USB ports, which is good for this period. So this is a great machine. And then you can see here, we've got onboard sound, which we'll talk about more when we look inside the machine, and a MIDI/joystick port as part of that onboard sound. We've got a network card. We've got a modem. Is it voice data fax? Who knows? One day we must try all of those functions. But weirdly, and let me just pull you off here actually. I'm not going to pull anyone off. Let me just move the camera. Let's have a good look. What is that? Now, it looks like an audio out, but it's actually the wrong size. This doesn't seem... Oh, it does go in. So I'm a bit confused by that. I'm a bit confused as to why I've got an extra. It does go in. I didn't think it did. So what the heck is that there for? We'll have a look when we open it up. Right, I've taken the 2 screws off and let's have a look in. Oh no, I've got to take 4 screws off. You can watch me take another 2 screws off because the whole case comes off. I'm so used to just one side panel coming off, and I've just remembered there's more to be done. There's more screwing to be done. Right. So we have an SAS 530 chipset there. So that is the onboard graphics chipset. We've got 1 card of RAM, but we've got 2 slots. ESS Solo 1, and that is the sound chip. That's the sound, onboard sound chipset there. Now look, we've got this jumper here. Ah, and that is going to that output there, which seems pointless. Then we've got the 2 extra cards. So that's the network card and that's the modem there. Then we've got another SIS chip there to do with the integrated stuff on board, another one there. Lithium battery there, which does need replacing, as we'll find out when we fire up. We've got the IDE controller here, another one here, and a floppy controller here. And then of course we have the SuperSocket 7 with the AMD K6-2 450 there. And we've got the floppy drive, and we've got the optical drive. No, that's the hard drive. That's the optical drive. Yeah. Okay, the system is plugged in and ready to go. First and foremost, this would of course had a beige CD-ROM drive rather than a black DVD drive. And that's fine, but I've done a bit of research, okay? So the AMD K6-2 450 came out in '99. DVD ROMs were around since '97, so that is fair play. Flat screens also, and admittedly maybe not in the same form as the one that I'm using today, but they've been around since the mid-90s. So look, I'm going to run with it. What I like is, look, you've got a black opening for the floppy drive here, and I've got a black match with the drive here. Those accents, those black accents, have given me an excuse to go cheaper than trying to get the matching keyboard, which I could have got. What's the bloody point? Seriously. I don't have any nostalgic attachment to this particular model. So in all honesty, I saw this combination, as I've mentioned before, and that just looks great. It's IBM branded, it's an IBM keyboard, and they are black, matching the accents that I now have in place. This works for me. Let's turn it on. And what we're going to have to do is quickly jump into the BIOS because the lithium ion battery is dead. So let's turn it on. No, in fact, I won't go into the BIOS. We don't need to go into the BIOS. Wonderful boot up screen there. It's going to go into post. Memory check. And you can see there it's registering 57.33, 57344K, so 57 meg essentially. And as I say, I see this as a starting point. This is where I've got this machine to now. Takes a while to boot. I'm going to leave this boot time as real time, so excuse the silence. This is how long it actually takes. You'll note I found the, oh. It's perfectly normal. They have no mind. And there we go, she's booting into Windows 98. So she's booting up. So as you would have seen when Matt gave it to me, it was running Windows, sorry, it wasn't running Windows, running DOS 6.22. And that was on this drive. And when I went to put Windows 98 on the drive, unfortunately, it then kept coming up with errors at the formatting. So I've had to use one of my existing drives, which is fine. And that's what's running there. Now let me point out another weird thing before you point it out. I've got a period correct 4:3 screen there, correct? No. You see, I'm a stickler for aspect ratio and I spot when things aren't right. And every time I look at things on here, I go, that's not 4:3, what the hell is it? So I pulled out my trusty tape measure because you've got to have one of them around. And just so you know, so you can check it yourself, that is just over 300 mil, okay, by 300, and it's actually about 375 or just under 380, right? Now, when I looked up, I measured it the other day and I looked up the ratio. The ratio is not 4:3, it's more 5:4, and that makes a difference. And the difference it makes is it's taller than it should be. And there's a comparison, look up aspect ratio calculator, and it actually puts an image in place and you can see the difference it will make. Okay, so Windows 98 you would be familiar with, of course, the resolution, and this really is thanks to Aaron on that forum I mentioned at the start of this video that we actually got it seeing the SIS 530. Then I forced it to see a display other than the one that it was seeing before, and that allowed me to go 32-bit true color at a resolution of 1024 by 768. So I'm very happy with that, because before that it was looking absolutely crap. So that's good. Authentic AMD K6 3D processor, 56 meg of RAM. Now, similar to my AMD laptop, this actually shares some of the system RAM, and I discovered in the BIOS just the other day, by default it's hogging 2 meg, and I can actually change it to, no, by default it's hogging 4 meg, and I can change it to hog up to 8 meg. So it's the choice between the two, 4 meg or 8 meg. Of the shared graphics. So that's good. Nothing else we really need to see other than most things are working. Internet connection sharing isn't happy. PCI communication device. Oh, so that must be the modem. I thought that was working. Obviously the sound is working. Unless that's the network card. So, oh no, the Ethernet is working. And see here, it thinks it's got a TV adapter, which is weird, and it knows it's got a dial-up adapter. It's still not happy about a PCI communication device. Not sure, but everything that I need to have working at this point is working, so that's great. Yeah, I have no mouse support for the PS2 port, so I'm having to use USB. So I have no mouse support in DOS at this point in time, only in Windows. So what have I got installed on this already? Well, at the moment, only Windows 98. Microsoft Flight Simulator, as you remember, got off my mate Tim. So that's been installed. The game for me at the time to really test a system was Unreal, other than Tomb Raider 3, which I don't have access to right now. So I think to round this off, look, under DOS, I've also got Duke Nukem 3D, Doom, and the Doom 2 demo that I got off mic, and Descent 2, which I also got off mic. So I will feature those in the future. But this was my test. This was my test one, and this is what I bought the other day. Back in the day, if it played Unreal well, then well, it was a good machine. Let's have a look. So look, as you can see there, the demo opening to Unreal, well, it runs. But there's some reflections missing, there's some shadowing missing, there's no lens flares. And even if I up, and that's at the lowest resolution, 640 by 480 texture detail high. So look, this is a great starting point for me. I think I'm not going to go in and play Unreal because I want to do that. The first time I do that, I want that to be a video in its own right, because I absolutely love this game. Never finished it, by the way. But I think this is a great starting point. As it stands, this is a great machine. This flies in Duke Nukem. This flies in Doom and Doom 2. And in fact, I will quickly add some footage of those two now. So look. Bit of a hang there, does it every time. I believe this to be the shareware version because I believe it's the shareware version because it's only 2 discs, not 5 off the CD. I could be wrong, but that's my suspicion. Which is fine. It's still great to have a disc of it. And I have to do a separate video on this as well, as thanks to Mike that gave me these Descent 2 and Doom 2. Now, as mentioned before, I haven't really played these. Oh, how'd you go forward? I can't remember. Well, that's backwards. There we go. Something. It can't go that way. But you can see this running nice and, oh, hello. Nice and easily. And it's the go-to demo for everyone because it's the best game ever. And I'm doing this. See how stretched? Right.
Come get some. Damn, those alien bastards are gonna pay for shooting up my ride.
That was pointless. Why is Mighty Foot engaged when I press shift? And I've got no backwards. Oh, backwards is over there. This is ridiculous. I need mouse.
Who wants some?
Yeah, so personally, I think this is a great starting point just to end this video. Look, it's a fantastic machine, AMD K6-2. I dismissed AMDs back in the day, didn't think they were worth looking at. And this, all these years later, has really opened my eyes. Probably should have gone to this rather than a slot 1 machine, like I did back in the day. IBM branded, I think this is where it starts, IBM compatible. We still refer to them as that. To have an IBM badge machine is absolutely great with matching peripherals. And like I say, I've got excuses for my accenting. So I'm really grateful once again to Matt. And I think there's some upgrades to be done. How much better is the, I think this is the equivalent of a Sound Blaster Live. I think I need a joystick. And once I've got a joystick, then I think we can start having fun by testing out this that I got off Tim, which is designed for Windows 95. And I'm really excited about getting into that and some other games as well. So this definitely fills that void for me in terms of having an early Pentium, an early Pentium machine. It's not a Pentium, it's an AMD, you get what I mean. So a Windows 98 era machine. So I'm happy. Well, look, there is the shot.